First, it will be India. It will be represented by our global ambassador, Dhara and Risha. And then second, we will have China, who will be represented by Wenting, our international freshman. And then Malaysia will be represented by our global ambassador, Nurin, and a fellow international student, Auna. And then finally, we will have Vietnam, will be represented by our global ambassador, Victoria. So, first, why do we do this workshop? Firstly, Penn State Harrisburg hosted about 600, enrolled about 600 international students from 50 countries from fall 2020. This is an increase from the previous semester, even though we are in the midst of global pandemic, which is unique and all of throughout the Penn State campuses. And out of those 600 students, China, India, Korea, Saudi, Malaysia, and UAE, and also including Vietnam, is about 84% of the whole student population, which is significant. And in the broader perspective, about 50% of international students comes from China and India. This is from all United States. And other countries like Vietnam, South Korea, Malaysia also contribute to this population. And then in the perspective of the economy, about international student contributes about $36.9 billion in the economy and provided about 450,000 jobs. In Pennsylvania alone, where we have 50,000, more than 51,000 international students, it contributed about $2 billion to the local economy and provided about 28,000 jobs. So this is why it is important to understand the culture, etiquette, and then to connect with our international community. And also, the sweetest sound in the world is the person's own name. So this is by Dale Carnegie. This is why I like to learn more about pronunciation of different names of my friends, of my peer international students. So, without further ado, let's invite the first speaker, which is from India, to learn about culture, etiquette, and names pronunciation. Dara and Risha, would you like to introduce yourself while I set up your presentation?
hmm Hi everyone, my name is Dhara. I am a junior currently and I'm studying psychology and I'm a global ambassador.
Hi everyone, my name is Richa Patel and I'm a junior and my major is bio and I have been a global ambassador for about a year now.
Okay, thanks, Naufal. So as Naufal said, we're going to start off the workshop by talking about India. So India is very similar to America. Can you go to the next slide, Naufal? So India is very similar to America in terms of the country being divided into different states. There are many states in India. I think there are about 28 or 29. And as a result, India is a very diverse country. Personally, me and Richa are from the state of Gujarat, which is on the low left corner, as you can see. So another misconception about India is that everyone who is from India is a Hindu. Nafa, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So not every person from India is a Hindu, even though the majority are. We also have 13.4% of the population who are Muslims, 2.3% who are Christians, 1.9% who are Sikhs, 1.2% who are Buddhist and Jain, and 0.7% identify as another religion. So even though these percentages seem like very small, keep in mind that India is the second most populous country in the world. So these percentages represent a large amount of people. So on the next slide, I talk about how no one really speaks Indian. Indian is not a language, it's actually a nationality. And even though Hindi is considered the national language of India because majority of people are able to communicate it because it's usually taught in schools, not everyone from India can necessarily speak Hindi. The best example, me, I can't speak Hindi. I actually speak a language called Gujarati, which is spoken by 46 million people in India. And there are also 122 major languages and 1,599 minor languages in India. And these minor languages usually come from dialects or combinations of different languages, and they're usually spoken in like remote villages. So on the next slide, we kind of talk about a little bit of some do's in India. So one thing, or in Indian culture, you should always remove your shoes prior to entering any religious place or someone's home. The reason being, a religious place is considered sacred and shoes are usually dirty, so you don't want to make that place dirty. And the reason we remove someone's shoes in someone's home is because usually every house has a little temple or a designated area for praying, and you don't want to bring dirt into that place as well. Respecting your elders is a very important aspect of Indian culture. So you should always accept offerings from older people as it symbolizes their blessing. And one way you can do this is to show a sign of respect is to touch the feet of elder people. And in return, they give you blessings and good luck. So in the next slide, we talk about a little bit of some don'ts that you should do in Indian culture. So going along with the theme of respecting elder people, you shouldn't call them by their first names. So sometimes I know professors are comfortable with people using their first name, but some Indian students might not be because they were raised and taught to be respectful to older people. And for me, if I meet an older person and I don't know necessarily what to call them, the safe bet is always to use auntie or uncle. So when you go to someone's house or party, you should never go empty-handed. You should always bring a small gift like sweets or even bring cash. And speaking of cash, you always want to gift it as an odd number and not an even number. And the simple way to do this is just to add an extra dollar for good luck. So an example is don't give someone $100, instead gift them $101. So in the next slide, I talk about some food etiquette when it comes to India. I'm sure everyone has been to Starbucks and has seen the signs for a cha tea latte. And every time I see that, it annoys me just a little bit because cha translates to tea. So when you're saying cha tea latte, it translates to TT latte, which is kind of redundant. And similarly, naan means bread. So you can just say naan instead of naan bread. And now I'm going to hand it off to Richa.
Hi everyone. So now we're gonna talk about the Indian name and like how Indian names are like etiquettes of Indian names. If we can go to the next slide. So in Indian culture, children are named based on Rashi, which is like a sun or moon sign. So depending on what time of the day you are born, people look at it and identify the first letter that the name should be from. So it is believed that choosing your baby's name based on her birth plays a significant role to shape her character and like future. So the birth star can be calculated either by your astrologer or like nowadays from online. But I personally know that my grandparents called an astrologer to look at it when I was born. You can go to the next slide. So traditionally, the first name is named by father's sister. That this tradition still continues in some family. However, now the families have moved from practicing certain traditions and rituals. So now parents get to choose their child's name. So the middle name are not a normal thing, as usually each child is given their father's first name as their middle name, and the last name are passed down from family and they're like an ancestor based on the occupation that the family used to have. So like my first letter R, it came from like my Rashi, which was like I was born like on midnight. So that's how my grandparents figured out how that would be like R, because I was born like around 1 or 2 a.m. And then they looked at the religious calendar and like other aspects and they found out it has to be R. And then like my middle name is my dad's name. And then the last name Patel, it comes from families that were like farmers, landlords, and it's also based on the caste system that is followed in India. You can go to the next one. So how to pronounce some common Indian names? We would say the best advice is to ask them, because sometimes a lot of people prefer American way and an Indian way. So we don't want to hurt their feelings or anything. So I have like two examples of people named that people like that are often misconfused. So the first name is, if you want to say it in an American way, it's Nandini, but like actual Indian way is Nandini. And then it's the second name, if you want to say it in an Indian way, it's Chavi, but like American way is Chavi. And even like my name, a lot of people like mispronounce, but like in American way, people call me Risha or Richa, but like actual Indian name, like if you want to pronounce it, it's like Richa. Next one. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Right. Thank you so much, Risha and Dara. Yeah, next we will have Wenting Wei from China to tell about China's culture etiquette and names pronunciation. So we welcome Wenting.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Wenting Wei, and I'm a freshman of Penn State Harrisburg, and I'm planning to major in accounting. So today I will introduce Chinese cultural etiquette. Before I started, I want to share some misconceptions to Chinese culture. First, pollution. This is considered a big thing in China. In fact, it's getting better, and it's the same as any other countries surrounding the area. China has put a lot of work over the last years to keep this under control, improve the environment for the living communities. Second, security. China is a safe country as of its strict regulations and law. You can be working around at 2 a.m. at night and nothing would happen. It's a pleasant, clean, and safe atmosphere with many shops open even after midnight with different fun activities, especially for some modern cities like Beijing or Shanghai. Third, third, Chinese are all good at math. I have to say that many Chinese people are creative and they're smart, but not all of them. First, Chinese don't speak English. Actually, you will be surprised at how much English and other languages are spoken in China, especially. The main cities are so international that you will never find yourself struggling to speak with someone as English broadly spoken across the sector with basic to a good level of understanding. Then I will talk some basic Chinese traditional etiquette that will shed light on China's many unspoken rules. First, I will talk about some basic rules of greetings. Actually, in China, a brief introduction is the first step to create a good first impression. Unlike some other countries, Chinese etiquette does not include bowing when greeting, and it is an inappropriate behavior to interrupt when other people is talking. When we address with other people, we should address the eldest or most senior person first. A simple soft handshake and a friendly hi or 您好 to greet older people will often suffice. And it should be noticed that when you enter someone's home, you need to take off your shoes. Chinese are particular about food, as well as what we look like when eating food. From table manners aspects, there are some behaviors need to be avoided. First, do not stick chopsticks upright in your food when not using them, especially not into rice, as this will make Chinese people think of funerals. At funerals, those sticks are stuck into a pot by the rice that is put onto the ancestor's altar. And do not tap the bowl with your chopsticks or point them to other people. It is a rude behavior and will leave bad impression on others. Don't spit bones in your bowl or onto the floor and talk when there is food on the mouth. While here are also some tips for the table manners in China. When you select your seats, you need to let the older people choose first. After being seated, the waiter will give you a towel to wipe the hands. When there are some dishes like lobster, chicken, or fruit, a boil of water may be served with some rose petals, which is not drinks, but to wash your hands. and it is a common phenomenon to join the toast. When taking a break, leave your chopsticks to the side of your plates or bowl. Use the chopsticks and rest if one is provided, it should be on right. When visiting friends in China, it is common to present your host with a small gift or receiving a gift from the host. But do not be too eager to unwrap your gift unless the person offering the gift insists. It's considered polite in Chinese culture to open gifts after you or your guests leave. Don't wrap gifts using black or white wrapping paper. Choose festival colors such as red instead. Don't gift clocks to other symbolic items. Clocks and things related to the number 4 are associated with death in China, and sharp objects symbolize the severing of relationships. And don't give odd numbers of money in the red pocket. So what we can do when receiving a gift? You can do present and receive things with your both hands. This is considered polite in Chinese culture. Do refuse a gift a number of times before accepting it. Politely refusing a gift before accepting it is the norm in Chinese culture. So don't be discouraged when someone initially refuses your gift. Do consider fresh fruit or other produce or gift items from your own countries or states like foods, perfumes, or CDs. These are always appreciated and are always well received. Last, I will briefly introduce how to pronounce Chinese name. Address the nearly made people with their title and family name. In China, names are written with their surname, which is the family name first, and their given name second. Take the famous basketball player Yao Ming, for instance. Yao is his family name and Ming is his given name. You should therefore address him as Mr. Yao. In a nutshell, when traveling to China, understanding Chinese etiquette and customs are essential for putting your best foot forward. Chinese culture is a rich culture that has evolved over thousands of years and is probably quite different from your culture. But only when you show respect to Chinese etiquette and customs, then you will experience the true warmth of Chinese people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wenting. We learned a lot of fun facts about Chinese culture and even name pronunciations. Now I'd like to welcome our next speaker, which is from Malaysia, Nurin and Auna.
I'm sorry, but this is my first time. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Hi to our faculty member and staff. Today, I and Auna will be presenting about culture etiquettes in Malaysia. Um, Misconception. There are several misconceptions about Malaysia. For example, race, religion, names, and cultures. In Malaysia, we have multiracial community. There are four major ethnic groups, including Malay, Chinese, Aborigines, and Indians. Most Aborigines people in Malaysia live in Borneo part, which is in Sabah and Sarawak.
Nurin, sorry to cut
Also,
you off. Can you go to the next
yeah,
slide? Can you go to the next slide? I
Yeah.
think you're stuck in the first slide.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can you reshare it? Sorry to cut
I
you off.
think,
Can you reshare your slides? Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Is it good right now? It's, is
Yes,
it
it's perfect.
in misconception religion? Ah, okay. Okay, so also Malaysians practice different religions too. Majority of Malaysians practice Islam as their religion belief, but there are a few other religions too, such as Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, and others. So I will pass the presentation to Auna to explain about names and Malaysian culture.
Next slide, please, Nurin. So, as we already know, Malaysia is a multiracial country. There are three major races in Malaysia, which is Malay, Chinese, and Indian. There are actually more, but these three are the major. So there are often misconceptions in names of these three races. So I'm going to go through the name structure for these three races. As for Malay, for male, it's common to have the first name as Muhammad or Ahmad and bin as the middle name. Bin actually comes from Arabic word ibnu, which means son of and followed by the name of the father. For example, Muhammad Saufi bin Othman. So Muhammad Saufi is a given name. Bin is a middle name, which means son of, and Othman is a father's name. And another example is Ahmad Ikmal bin Ahmad Shari. So Ahmad Ikmal is a given name. Bin is the middle name, which means son of, and Ahmad Shari is the father's name. For female, it's common to have the first name as Nur or Siti and Binti as middle name. Same goes to Bin. Binti is also an Arabic word which means daughter of and followed by the name of the father. Both male and female will have their father's name as their last name. For example, Siti Nurhaliza binti Nordin. Siti Nurhaliza is a given name. Binti is a middle name which means daughter of. And Nordin is the father's name. And another example is Nur Fatiha binti Faiz, which means Nur Fatiha is a given name. Binti is a middle name, which means daughter of, and Faiz is the father's name. Malays do not have family name. Malays name their children after the father's name, and the wives will not change their names after married. Next slide, please. For Chinese, it's the same. It's just that they don't have Bin and Binti in their names, as it generally only applies to Malay names. And for Indians, same thing applied. They'll have their names as the first name and followed by the father's name as the last name. The only difference between Malays and Indians' name is the middle name. For an Indian male, he will have A/L as their middle name. That stands for anak lelaki in Malay, which means a son of in English, and A/P for female, that stands for anak perempuan in Malay, which means a daughter of. For example, Pridip A/L Bashkaran. Pridip is a given name. A/L is a middle name, which means son of. Bashkaran is the father's name. And another example is Katrina A/P Mahruja. Katrina is a given name. A/P is the middle name, which means daughter of, and Mahruja is the father's name. Next slide. And there are some do's and don'ts in Malaysian culture. Firstly, it's very important to respect other people's religions, races, and culture. These three things are fairly sensitive in Malaysia that everyone needs to be aware of. This is a multiracial country where tolerance and mutual respect are crucial. Next, it is important for youngsters to respect the elders. We don't call the elders by name. Instead, we do call them uncle or auntie, even they are strangers. And even though our age gap, our age gap is not so big, if the age gap is not so big, we won't be calling them uncle or auntie. Instead, we call them brothers or sisters. And the next is for Malays, it is important to do not shake hands between men and women who are not related to each other. This is very common in our country, especially for Muslims, due to the religious belief that prohibits kinship between women and men who are not related. However, it is totally fine for people with different beliefs to shake hands. This is also not a rule, so if both women and men don't mind shaking hands, even though they are Malays, it shouldn't be a problem. So I'm gonna hand half this presentation to Nurin.
Thank you, Auna. So next is guidance to pronounce Malaysian names. I believe some of you have heard about bin and binti words, especially in previous slide. In some Malaysian names, technically bin and binti are to tell the gender of the children. Bin means son of and binti means daughter of. For example, Imran bin Azhar. Imran is the first name and bin is the son of Azhar. So Imran is son of Azhar. And yeah, I believe Auna explained about this. So we can proceed to next slide. Malaysian's alphabet are the same as the English alphabet. We also have an alternative alphabet like Jawi. Jawi is similar to Arabic but is read in Malay language. To pronounce Malay words, we use direct pronunciation. We pronounce things by syllable. For example, Aiman. You will meet many Aiman if you have Malaysian friends. So Aiman is one of the famous names in Malaysia. So we pronounce it as I and mine. So Aiman. Yeah. So it's important to break the words down into parts and pronounce them by part. These are one of the ways to pronounce Malay names by using building blocks. For example, the first word is I, and then mal, and nu, mine, mu, me, han, wong, and other pronouns. So if if your name is Aimal, it's like I and Mal. Right? It's I and Mal. For example, other example is Han Wong. So your Chinese name is Han Wong. So you break it as Han and Wong. Yeah. Example. I mind again. And Far, which is Far, and Han. So we combine it as Farhan. We have Africa. A is pronounced as A and Fi Ka. Q and K in Malay words is pronounced the same, which is K. So Ka. Yeah. And Shazwina. Shazwina. Yeah. This is one of the example of full name of Malay students, which is Muhammad Anik bin Roslan. So it's Muhammad is the first name, and then Anik is the second first name. Bin is the son of, and Roslan is the parent's name. Yeah. So the conclusion is to pronounce Malay names, you use direct pronunciation and building blocks. So you break it into parts. to make it easy for you to pronounce it. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.
So me there.
I'm muted. Yeah, thank you so much, Nurin and Auna. That was really informative, and it's surprising that Malaysia has many cultures inside of it. So there's so many things to learn. So our next speaker will be from Vietnam, will be by our friend Victoria. So Victoria, could you introduce yourself while I set up your presentation?
Novel, can you help me to share the presentation?
Yes, 1 second. You can introduce yourself first.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Victoria, and I'm freshman at Penn State Harrisburg, and my major is biochemistry, and I'm a Vietnamese global ambassador. So today I will present about my culture and about some fun facts or about some like important facts about Vietnam. So you can see there is a picture attached, and this is like one of the most famous palace in Vietnam in the past for many years ago. And so now I will talk about the location and the geography of Vietnam. Um, Vietnam borders China in the north, Laos in the northeast and the center, and the Cambodia in the southwest. This is 2,135 miles of the coastline run from its border with Cambodia on the Gulf of Thailand along the South China Sea to its border with China. So like during summer, a lot of foreigner or even the Vietnamese people, we always comes there for summer vacation because our coastline, like we are famous for our coastline, and we have a lot of uh, like famous tourism there. And the Vietnamese culturally divide the country into three main regions. The first one is the north, and the main city of the north is Hanoi, and which is the capital of Vietnam, because Hanoi is the site of the former capital of one of the country earliest dynasty that has been the capital for the unified Vietnam since 1976. And for the center of Vietnam, we normally call it the country for the city we normally call it Huế. This also a place that we have a lot of palace there during our history and in the past and during our war there also. And for the south, the main cities is Ho Chi Minh City is where I am living now, and this place is was found as the last place in Vietnam. And I will come to the demography because the current population is approximately 77 million, composed almost exclusively of indigenous peoples. We have like 54 different group of ethnic Vietnamese, and the largest group is we normally call it Kinh, and we comprise for like over 85% of the population. And other significant ethnic groups include the Cham, the Hmong, Khmer, Hmong, and Thai. And we also have a small group of Chinese people because our ancestor and our historical culture are influenced a lot by the Chinese. So until now, we also have like a small group of people that have their ancestor from Chinese, and they also speak Chinese as well. They normally speak Mandarin and Cantonese. And the country's two largest population center are in Ho Chi Minh City and in Hanoi, and 75% of the population lives in rural area. Next, I will come to the symbolism of Vietnam. So the Vietnamese government extensively employs several symbols to represent the nation. These include the flag with its red background and the center with a 5-pointed gold star. The emblem of the Vietnam is circular and has a red background and a yellow star in the middle, which represents the 5 main classes in the Vietnamese society: intellectuals, farmers, worker, business people, and the military personnel. The revolutionary history and the bright future of Vietnam. And other commonly visible symbols or pattern of the seabird and other figure feature on the Dong Sơn drums. This is one of our culture, and this drum represent our historical culture when the Vietnamese people are mostly farmers. And these drum manufactured by the early residents of northern Vietnam in the first and the second millennia and represent the nation antiquity. Since Vietnam began developing its tourist industry in the late 1980s, so several other images have become as a commonplace, such as a farmer in a conical hat, a young boy playing flutes while riding on a black buffalo, or a woman in Aisyah, our culture, our traditional dress. And now we will come to one of the most important facts of the Vietnamese people is our war history is sacrosanct. Some people have learned this like in hard way, like don't speak anything about Vietnamese war or heroes, or don't make joke about anything related to their history, culture or war, because Vietnamese people have a great sense about like the war, and those were the difficult times for everyone in our country. So as a foreigner, we always respect and appreciate if you show your respect to this topic of our country. And one of the most funny facts about Vietnam is our huge number of motorcycles that you have never seen before. One of the Vietnamese fact and information that every tourist should know is that motorcycles are the main mean of transportation of 90 million Vietnamese people, with 37 million registered compared to only 2 million cars. So don't be surprised if you can see so many motorbikes on the Vietnamese street. And so next is come to like one of the most important thing during our special holiday. It is about the Vietnamese kitchen gods. Vietnamese is one of the few countries in the world that worshiping the gods of the kitchen. Vietnamese people think that the 3 gods of the kitchen will decide a good fortune or the blessing for your family. This blessing is due to the righteous deeds of the landlord and the people in the house. According to this legend, before the days of the Chinese New Year, or we often call it Tet holiday, the kitchen god will report that everything happened during a year to the king of the heaven about a family situation or about each family member, that what they have done or what they are doing in the year. Therefore, with the expectation that the kitchen of the god will give you and your family blessed, on the 23rd day uh, of the first of the last month of the year, we need to prepare a ritual to see the kitchen, to send the kitchen of God to the heaven. And Vietnam also popular for the world's largest natural cave. One of the proudest facts about Vietnam is that Sơn Đông Cave is in Sơn Trạch commune in Quảng Ninh province of the Vietnam. It is the largest natural cave in the world today, and the cave is in a series of Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng national caves, which is part of the underground system connecting more than 150 other caves in Vietnam near the border with Laos. And according to the geologists, Sơn Đông Cave was formed about 2 to 5 million years ago, when the river water flow across the limestone area buried along the fault line, and the water erodes and create the huge tunnel, which is Sungdong Cave today. And in 2004, the New York Times that has ranked Sungdong Cave in the 8th place out of the top 55 the world best destination. So don't forget to visit this amazing cave on your trip when you have a chance to visit Vietnam, when everything turns back to normal and COVID is already gone. And Vietnam is also known as a paradise of coffee. It is the second largest coffee producer in the world after Brazil. We consist of 20% of the world's coffee exported from Vietnam, due to the fact that coffee forms a great part of Vietnamese culture, and it is one of the special components in our breakfast or our lunch every day. Vietnam coffee has a strong taste from a dark roasted Robusta beans at a very reasonable price. If you love an intensely rich and dark flavor, you shouldn't miss trying Vietnamese coffee in your travel to Vietnam. You can add a little bit of ice or a sweetened condensed milk at the bottom of the cup, so it can be like a great drink that you can have every breakfast in the morning. It can help you to like become an energetic people, and it can refresh your mind whenever you try it. And so when we talk about Vietnam or some Asian country, we know that Buddhism is our main religion. However, it also coexists with Confucianism and Taoism, as they are the two religion that happen in Vietnam right now. And we also have a smaller part of the population is a Catholic. Buddhism has a great influence on the thinking and the behavior of Vietnamese people. And for us, it's not only a religion, but it also a way of life that emphasizes our connection to the present and the past and the future. Vietnamese people always believe that to the same degree they will, like for today, they have shown in the past, in other words, that we believe in the rebirth of Buddhism, and they present life reflects action in the previous life. So now on the screen, I think you can see a picture with of like all family members live together, and this is one of the most cute family culture in Vietnam. We always think that families is very important. An extended family member or several generations often live together. Like we always live with our parent, our grandparents, and we find that this is the way that we can reunite together, and we can share everything, and the older generation can use the like our dinner or lunchtime to teach their kids or the younger generation about like how to live and how to show respect to other. And we think that this way can give us happiness and wonderful life. Okay, so older family members are respected and admired, and I believe that this culture is applied in a lot of countries, even the United States or another European countries. And we show respect to our older family members by like we always give things to them by using two hands, and we always show respect by like say respectful ways to them. And we always have a greetings or saying goodbye when we plan to leave for school or for work. And before every meal, we always need to invite them in to eat. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So when you're invited to a special party in Vietnam, guests usually bring a gift such as fruit, sweets, or flower. However, yellow flowers are considered as a bad omens because it's usually used for the people that already passed away, and the black color item are related to death and mystery, so those should be avoided. And the Vietnamese people always wear black and whites when they visit a funeral. Okay, so this one is one of the like it's my favorite topic when I want to talk about is five elements in a dish of Vietnamese people. The cuisine of Vietnam traditionally combines five elements. It means that in each dish is created to balance out the five fundamental taste sense. The first one is spicy, the second one is sour, the third one is bitter, salty, and the last one is sweet, to correspond to five internal organs in our body: the gallbladder, small intestine, large intestine, stomach, urinary bladder. And in addition to those information, a dish should include five types of nutrients, which is powder, water or liquid, mineral elements, protein, fats, and in every dish of Vietnam, we always appeal to the five color. First one is white, the second one is green, yellow, red, and black. As a result, the dish will appeal to five senses. The first one always be the arrangement attract about when you look at it. The second one is the creepy sound. You can hear it when you bite something in our dish. And the third one is the five spices, is the taste. Then comes to the aromatic ingredients, which is smell and the finger food, because in Vietnam we have some food we need to eat by our hands. That's the reason why. And come to one of the last slides of my presentation today. I will talk about the specialty in each main city in Vietnam. The first one is pho. Pho is a Vietnamese soup consisting of broth, rice noodles, herbs, and meats. We usually use beef, and over the time, people also use pork or chicken to cook it. Pho is a popular food in Vietnam where it is served in household, in street stall and restaurant countrywide. And pho is considered as a Vietnam national dish. And pho is originally a northern dish created sometime in the early 20th century. And originally pho was often sold by street vendors who would carry a bowls of broth on shoulders poles. And the second one is bún bò Huế. It is a popular Vietnamese soup, contains rice, vermicelli, and beef. Huế is a city in the central of Vietnam associated with the cooking style of the former royal courts. So the dish is greatly admired for its balance of spicy, salty, and umami flavors. The predominant flavor is that the lemongrass. Compared to pho, the noodles of bún bò Huế is thicker and more cylindrical. So bún bò is originated in Huế, a former capital of Vietnam, and outside the city of Huế and some part of the central Vietnam, we also love eating this one as our breakfast. The broth is prepared by simmering the beef bones and the beef shank with the lemongrass, then seasoned with the fermented shrimp sauce and the sugar for more tasty. And the spicy chili oil is added later during the cooking process. And the last one is from the south, is from Ho Chi Minh City, which is bánh mì. I believe that we also have this dish in the United States, so you can try it whenever you come to a Vietnamese restaurant. This is a bánh mì is the Vietnamese word for bread. In Vietnamese cuisine, it's also referred to a type of short baguette with a thin and scripty crust and soft, airy texture inside. This is often split lengthwise and filled with various savory ingredients like meats, sausages, or egg, or can be a chicken. This is a typical Vietnamese roll or sandwich, which with a fusion of meat and vegetable from native Vietnamese cuisine. And we can nowadays we often eat it with cucumber, pickled carrot, and pickled daikon combined with the condiments of French cuisine such as pate, along with the chilies and the mayonnaise and some of the specialty sauce from Vietnam. Yeah, I believe that those facts are really interesting, and we as a Vietnamese people, we always love to learn more about these facts, and also like the recipe to cook our food too. So now I will come to Vietnamese language, which is one of the most complicated language in the world. So um, this is the official language in Vietnam, but fortunately, we also use some letter, some common letters such as A, B, C, D, E, G, H. Yeah, we have 22 common alphabetical. But beside that, we also have some of the other word that we combine the letter together to make it sound more fabulous. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, this is seven different letters that often appears in any Vietnamese word. So for the first one, we often pronounce like and it sounds like the U letter in the word but. The second one is a. It sounds like when you want to yell at someone, and it sounds like the A letter in the word hat. The third one is D. It sounds like when you pronounce done. And then one like we always use it when we try to call our friends, just like the younger people or our friends, and it's we call like mates. And O is sound like the boats. Yeah, and the way it's pronounced is also like boats. And the O with the another mark upper it, and it's pronounced sound like the pronunciation sound like fur. Yeah, and then the last one is it's like boot. I know it sounds like really hard even for the Vietnamese people. We also need like 2 or 3 years to get used to it, but I just want to introduce it to everyone so you can know. And the second one is the combination of the letters that common use in Vietnam. The first one is CH, which sounds like the first letter in the word church. Ch, ch. Yeah, we always pronounce it like ch. And the second one is G with the H come together. And it sounds like the word G in good. The second one is G with I. It sounds like the word Z. It sounds like Z in the word zoo. Next is K with H. It's also sound like the CH in church. But for this one, when we try to pronounce it, we need to speak a little bit smoothly. And then we come to N and G, and NG with the H and N with H. It's feel like a lot of combination that we have to learn, but this part of like important part of Vietnamese pronunciation and how to read name. And then the fourth one up from the downward is P with an H. We normally pronounce this at in fine, yeah. And then we come to the Q and the U, and we pronounce it as Q. And then T comes with an H. It sounds like like a tongue or top of anything. And then T with R, it also sounds like church, like in the tree. Can you come to the next slide? Okay, so I will teach you how to pronounce some of the word. The first one is Vietnam. For it, like to make it easier to pronounce, we can pronounce it like Vietnam. And when you try to say it out loud and connect it quick and together, we can have Vietnam, Vietnam, Vietnam. And then the capital of Vietnam is Hanoi. And for the foreigner, I always teach them to pronounce it as Hanoi, Ha and then Noi. And for the center of Vietnam, I always tell them to say that Hue, Hue, Hue. Yeah, and we will understand that it is Hue. And for Ho Chi Minh City, we always like Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh. We pronounce it at without the tone of the letter, so it's much easier. So now I will come to how to read Vietnamese name. For Vietnamese name, we usually call the family name first, then the middle name, and then the first name. The example is the three Vietnamese name. The first one is my name, and the second and the third one is another two Vietnamese global ambassador in Penn State Harrisburg too, but they cannot come to our event today. So my name is Van is my family name. Ngọc Kim is the middle name, and Ngân is the first name. So for my name, Ngân means about treasure. Yeah, so my parents wish me to have a lot of money and treasure when I get older and when I've grown up. So that's the reason why I have that name. And the second name, the family name is Ha. The middle name is Ngọc Phương. And the first name is Thảo. Thảo means like the scent or a perfume. So it's really great to give the girl your girl name Thảo. And the last one is Nguyễn for the family name, Minh for the middle name, and for the first name is Wang. This name sounds a little bit shorter compared to the other two because this name is for boys. So Wang means like lights and bright. So the parent wish their child to be intelligent and smart. So they give them the name Wang. So next, I will come to the common family name in Vietnam, and and the way that we used to pronounce it. Like the first one is Nguyễn. You can see a lot of Vietnamese American have this name as a family name, and we normally pronounce it Nguyen, Nguyen, Nguyen. And the second one is also popular with the Vietnamese American and as well as the Vietnamese people, which is the Chen. And we can pronounce it as Chen. The third one is Le, but we can pronounce it like Li. Yeah. And the fourth one is Pham. It's kind of easy to pronounce like Pham. Yeah. When you just need to say Pham and they will understand that. And then Hoang, we can say it Hoang, and Hun, you can say it Hu In, Hu In, Hun. Yeah. For fan, we can say it a fan. It sounds like a fan in the the US meaning. And for Vu, we also have this at our family name. And for Va and Dang, we can pronounce it like Diang, Diang, and Bui, and then do, and then ho, and then ngo. For this word, I found it really hard to teach the foreigner to pronounce it. So I normally taught them to say go, and then that's it. And then yung, we also pronounce it as yuang, yuang for the foreigner. I think it's more easier. It's much more easier. And the last one is li. Yeah, and now we will come to the common first name in Vietnam for boys and girls. There's only like some common first name, but actually we have like so many name that I cannot tell all now. So as you can see, I think you can meet a lot of Vietnamese people in the US with the name An or maybe Minh or maybe Nam. or it can be Bao as well. But for girl, the name sounds more like, I don't know how about you, but for the Vietnamese people, it sound really, really nice and it's smooth. The way we speak it's really smooth because it's for girls. You can see many girls named An, Hương, Hà, Linh, Ngọc, and like each name we have a different meaning. So like there's several meanings for the names in Vietnam. So I cannot tell it right now. So I wish that I can talk to you in person or something that I can share with you a lot about this. And come to the next slide. Um, okay, so I think this is the last slide about the Vietnamese pronunciation. And thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for bear with me with this complicated language.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It was really informative. A lot of new things I learned about Vietnamese pronunciation. Okay, we already reached 12:30. Um, the attendees are free to go if you like to, because we are in the end of our program. But if there is any questions, you guys can ask through to our students or even put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself or just simply put in the chat about your questions. Yeah, so we have one question in the chat for, I think it's from Malaysia, for Auna specifically. You mentioned you refer to your elders as uncle or auntie. Is this similar to Mr. and Mrs. in the US? Maybe Auna and Nurin can answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that. I think it's not the same as I think Mr. and Mrs. in Malaysia refers to for Mrs. it refers to Puan. It refers to someone, a woman, a married woman, and Mr. refers to a man. Well, auntie and uncle, we just call, well, auntie and uncle, we just call them because they are older than us. And like specifically, we call auntie and uncle for our parents' siblings, like our extended family members. We call them auntie and uncles. I don't think it's the same like Mr. and Mrs. Yeah, because like Mr. and Mrs. It always come with a name like um. Let me give an example. Maybe like Mr. Kim, Mr. Kim or Mrs. Kim. Mr. It refers to like what I don't know what do I call them, but it's like yeah, it refers to like a man, and Mrs. refers to a married woman. So I don't think it's the same like auntie and uncle. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. Oh, okay.
and I think it's in addition, Mr. and Mrs. is for formal call, and auntie and uncle is into informal. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Anna and Doreen. Yeah, I do grow up in similar culture. I think uncle and auntie is to address informal. So when you with a elder person, but it's more friendly, you use auntie and uncle without, and usually without the first name. But if it's a formal address, you use Mr. and then the name, or Miss and then the name. Okay, we have another question from Dr. Gal. Chinese culture and names appear in several of these countries. How are they the same and how are they different? So yeah, we did saw some Chinese name pronunciation in Malaysia and also from Wenting. Maybe we can have it from Wenting. Do you think it's similar? The one presented in Malaysia or other countries?
Um, I think it has a little bit similar since Malaysia and India, since we're the neighbor countries, and we have some similar cultures and in some perspectives. Totally speaking, I think there are a big difference between announcement and spelling. Yeah.
Thank you, Wenting. Yeah, I think most Chinese culture in other countries like Malaysia are quite adapted still adapted to the mainland China name. But as I'm from Indonesia, I can tell you that most of the Chinese Indonesian name are adapted to the Indonesian version of the name. But we don't present that today. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you a brief information about that. So we have another question from Katie. Victoria, you said every dish contains so many components. How often do you have the same dish?
So for this question, it's kind of hard to answer because like it depends on the family, and it depends on the taste of each family members. Like for example, for my family, we usually have like um, different meals and different dish for every day, and um, we plan to have the same dish for every like 2 weeks, or if we really love or every family members love that dish, we can have it like the next day or like the next week or every single day that we feel like we or craving for it. Yeah, and I hope that answer your question.
Thank you, Victoria. We have another question from Dr. Gal. In India, there were last names based occupations, right? Is the last names based on the occupation of the family, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it came, as Richa said, it came from like the old caste system where people were generally, their last names were given based on the occupation they had, and then people just kind of inherited. So like Patel is a very common last name, I'm sure. In a lot of your classes, you'll have a lot of Patels. And it just comes from the fact that we come from a similar region from India. So that's how it works. And no, me and Richa are not related. Because I feel like that's a common question too, from people who have the same last name.
Oh, I think I have an addition about Chinese name. Chinese name in Malaysia, most of them is preferred to be called by their English name because they have Chinese name, but they call them by their English name. For example, I have a friend who named Kuo Wei Jin, and we call her Verlin, which is Verlin is the English name. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Dara and Nurin. And thank you so much all for the faculty members and staff that attended. We are glad that you learned a lot from this session. And this is will be our last Global Ambassador event. So stay tuned for our Global Ambassador event next semester. Hopefully we will have another workshop with different cultures and new people to learn from. And thank you so much for the speakers. Thank you, Dara, Risha, Wenting, Nurin, Auna, and Victoria. You guys really did a great job in this presentation, and I learned a lot myself. And thank you so much, Wendy, too, for setting up everything. I hope you guys have a nice day. We are in the end of our program.